Hello. Thank you for joining. What a huge place, but few people around there. It's natural at the end of the summit, so thank you so much for being there. In a very lightning talk, we'll try to transform the procurement for open source. So let's jump in. So the agenda, first, we'll share a state of art for a closed source classical business as usual way. Then you identify problem and target, then share how to get there, and conclusion and Q&A if we have time. Aurelien will have to jump to his train at the exact moment, so we have 7 minutes together. So let's go. So about the state of art, there is 4 kind of organization we can have. The first one, very well known, is kind of an open source core, which means you have a community open source restricted to one pure player, and then you'll go to the proprietary layer and you have kind of a licensed product. Then the tailor-made, which is perfectly explained here. Hybrid, where you have an open source base, but there is a real community underneath. And then you will have premium services as a utility. You will pay for that because you need it to have the good level of maintenance and up and running level. There's the other way, community. We share the cost, supplier monetize, expertise, and support. But we'll see that there is other options.
Okay, so thank you, Boris. So to give you some example, so Aurelien, I'm from RT International, a subsidiary of RT, and we are part of the open source community. So to give some example of the business model Boris presented before, so we provide OPC STA for NSOA, for example. In this case, we build a wrapper around Antares, an open source project, and but the code is owned by NSOA. It's not a community model because at the end we cannot reuse it for other clients. On the other hand, when we work with Operator Fabric or Possible, the client allows us to give it back to the community. So this is another example, more community, where we can reuse and other people can also reuse what we developed for other projects. And of course, in this case, we will invoice less because we know that we can reuse the code for other projects. The problem we are facing today, from my experience with open source, is under the current framework is people are looking for product, and so it's hard to sell open source when tenders expect finished product, because what you will provide, the value of the open source is to be able to provide tailored solution that match the client's needs. But to do that, it means that when you are going to sell it, you don't have the project. You have the block as Lego to build it. So when you go to a procurement and present it, of course, your product looks less finished. So the demo session is a disadvantage. So exactly this box product, fit procurement, you are in the role, they know how to deal with that. While when you have a tailor-made open source solution, at the end you will have a better product, but the actual process is not designed to make you shine. So what is the target? If we were in the ideal world, basically what we would like to do, and I think where we will bring the more value, is to build tailor-made solution from common open source block, because in this case we will be able to build solution faster at lower cost. And for the business model, of course, it's already the case for some player. It's to switch to instead of buying a product with a license, you will have the product for free, or you will pay the development if you have to do some, and what you will pay is support and maintenance. What is good about this model is instead of having a product that will die someday, the life cycle, the lifespan of the product is endless. Because as long as you put new development in the community, you will improve your product, and that can be reused. And one thing that we already do at Art International when we develop for clients is differentiated pricing. So if a client say, okay, I want your solution, but I want to have the code, in this case, we will invoice more than if the client say, okay, you can put it in the open source community. I think it's a good way to promote it.
So quickly, we illustrated here the classic way to do procurement. And as Aurelien just mentioned, when you have a finished, polished, and very shiny solution, you could always seduce our client. Where, when you go to the open source way, you have many struggles. First, before going to the open source struggles, you will have already inside the European public procurement law, you will have the capability. It's still exceptional. ELIA, RT, and big utilities in Europe can use this kind of tools, but you could also try to. It's competitive dialogue and innovation partnership. I don't have time to detail too much. And for why OSS struggles, it has already mentioned by Aurelien. If you don't, and we will go to this solution, if you don't go to the proof of concept first, in order to give it a try, to assembling bricks and make it iteratively a product that is kind of shiny for this demonstration step, you won't be able to demonstrate that open source is reliable, is doable for a big account like utilities. But there is maybe more struggles we should share, but let's jump in.
Okay, so of course, open source do not always make sense. Sometimes you just need to buy a product that is ready. It's not your core business. You, for example, I don't know if you need an office. I mean, there is no way you're gonna say, "Hey, I want an open source. I want to develop stuff." There is no added value. So in this case, let's go with the classical way. But that's, I think, where also we are here today. When it's related to our core business, like simulation and modeling, AI-driven tools, collaborative platform, in this case, you need to have solutions that will be tailor-made because we don't have all the same needs. And you also know that TSOs and DSOs and utilities in general have common needs. So instead of building from the nothing and paying the product each time, it's better in this case to go to open source and to share Lego. But the issue that we have also is the current barriers is procurement requires some references. So they will ask, okay, but do you have this project in production somewhere? And the answer will be always no, because what you did is building a custom product for your customer, so there is no two times the same version. And also, as we already said before, the maturity is judged at the demo stage, which favors a proprietary solution.
So how can the procurement unlock the value? So before, we already mentioned finished solution, IP to client, my precious. When you're a utility and you spend money and you're a public company with public funds, of course, in the contract, you will ask for the entire IP. It's a natural ID. When it goes to open source, and you say to your legals, to your procurement, to your financial people that, no, we will give up. They say, what? Are you crazy? You will distort the concurrency with public money, etc. No. You will make vendors able to use this other TSOs who has the same problems than us to invest on that. And if you rely on open standards, the magic happened. There is a huge return on investment by sharing the innovation costs. at the TRL, low technical readiness level, at the R&D level, and then until the production and the maintenance that the ecosystem can bring back to you. This is where LF Energy is in place. The ecosystem, once it exists, you will have this return on investment. It will take time. You will need to, and Aurelien perfectly said that in the first slides, you need to think about a long life cycle, not 3 years calculation of CapEx/OpEx. Okay, so let's go for the rest. OSS friendly. So the proof of concept phase is very important. I already mentioned that. Open standard, also life cycle, innovation partnerships, and we had a discussion with the panel during 1.5 hours about the regulation question we should ask together. We are very used to, as a utility, invest in strong assets. For example, a transformer, more than 5 million euro per unit, and maybe for 80 years of lifespan. So what about our digital software? Digital assets, we should say now. So we have a question to ask at the regulation level of how we manage this financial thing that is the digital we more and more rely on. This is an open question. We had a lot of discussion with the panel, and we showed the articles where you can find, it's between parentheses, you can find a lot of information on these deliverables. So how to get there? How much time do we have? We're out of time? Okay. In the current running EU regulation for, I mean regulation not for our work as a utility in electricity, but for the public procurement. We can choose to license the software, but we can choose also to expect a deliverable which is under an open source license. And we can choose the flavor, the copyleft of this open source license. We are fully free to do that. And we can also, we already did that with CPaaS in RT and Possible, we are able to specify a technology. And it's obvious, when you specify an open source technology, because it's open source, all the private sector can jump in and learn how to develop also in the community this asset. So it can join and answer to your tender. So we are very free on that. It's already done. Some federal acquisition in the United States, it's not complicated. It's not more complicated than in Europe, but you have to be very explicit at the very beginning of your tender. Procurement lever, so extend competitive dialogue, I already mentioned that. Integrated POC phase, we already mentioned that. And recognition of open source as reference. So RT portfolio, RTI international portfolio is very interesting for that. And there is LF Energy use cases you can download on the web. And the last one was about Possible on RCC. And key organization we have to exchange with in order to improve our open source procurement together is, of course, the European Commission. OFE, the Open Forum Europe, is in deep contact with the OSOR. OSOR is the open source observatory that is inside Brussels for the European Commission, inside the European Commission, in deep contact with OFE, and they see for huge industrial challenges like the energy transition, how powerful the open source is. So we have strong ally inside the Energy Commission, and they already seen what happened in the industry of automotive, telecommunication, sometimes health. So we have a lot of already demonstrated value of open source in tenders. So when energy decide to do tenders in open source, the European control you can have on your respect of the legislation, feel comfortable. A lot of tenders have already been done. Enough of that.
Okay.
Okay, Phil. Aurelien, as I told you, has to jump. So thank you so much, Aurelien.
Sorry.
I want to mention this catchphrase. Please, post on LinkedIn. I don't know which social network, but this catchphrase comes from Aurelien, and it's open source. Procurement shapes market as much as innovation does. How powerful the procurement is to bring open source on stage and make the energy transition more optimized, TSO by TSO, DSOs by DSOs, utilities in general. So please, yes, think about that and share it. So to recap, state of art, the current situation, you perfectly know that. Problem existing log target. Let's switch to a win-win model between clients and vendors. We need vendors. We won't go at scale. It was very interesting. I see Min is there. Min told us that Itachi is now joining. Without vendors, we won't go at scale. We need vendors inside this, and we need to release the IP when we tender as a public procurement. Public money, public code. European Commission is perfectly okay with that. Key message, enable procurement model that work with open source. I've just said public code, public money. And let's maybe share one question. Are you speaker next? I'm sorry, we're so late. You have 10-minute talks? Oh, you should have said. We were thinking we were alone. Sorry. So for the Q&A, please feel free to join me just here. I'm sorry.